Can you guys hear me okay? All good? All right, sweet. Alrighty, well, thank you everybody for coming, fighting the rain and not hydroplaning or anything crazy like that. I know, at least for me, I was driving behind people that decided 30 was the safest speed to drive on the freeway this morning. I know I'm lucky I'm in a big old truck, so I feel safe. I don't know what's wrong with these tiny little cars, but anyways, that's besides the point. So Carl is not able to make it today, dealing with some personal matters. So you guys get to see my friendly face again. I'm sorry, I thought you guys all thought you were done with me, but I'm back. So we're going to go ahead and get this meeting started. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, if you wouldn't mind standing. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Alrighty, so we're going to go ahead and pass this microphone around. If you could please speak into the microphone because our friends on YouTube are listening, and this is the only way that they can hear us. And if you're a commercial partner, go ahead, give a minute to talk about your company, what you're here to provide, and we'll go ahead and get started over here.
Good morning. My name is Mandy Montalvo. I'm the Public Safety Communications Manager for the Elk Grove Police Department and a member of your Board of Directors.
What am I supposed to say? Who I am?
Oh, sorry, yeah. If you could please just say like your name, your agency, title.
Okay. Okay. I'm Sarah Cadra. I'm a dispatch supervisor for Roseville Police Department.
I'm Dina Quesada. I'm a dispatch supervisor for Roseville Police Department.
Good morning, Tara Poyer, EMS Supervisor, Sacramento Regional Fire Dispatch.
Hi, Larry Weber with the sales group. I'm a manufacturer's rep in the CCAM for Southern California NAPCO Chapter. And I represent a number of fantastic product lines, including RGB, which is Dan Marcus's product, and a number of lines for RF, including 2 Motorola certified partners, Filtronic and RFI.
Thanks, Larry. I'm Dan Marcus. I'm with RGB Spectrum. We're headquartered in Alameda, and we are a visualization and control hardware platform. We make solutions for dispatch workflow at the desk to improve and collapse some of the way you interact with systems if you're a dispatcher. And we also make a more traditional front-of-room visualization solution. And recently, we also make a portable remote system. So now we can support better workflow, better ergonomics at the desk, better workflow, better ergonomics to a front-of-room or video wall collaboration, and now to our mobile flyaway kit as well. Better signal distribution and control. RGB Spectrum, Dan Marcus, nice to see you guys.
Hi, I'm Pete Wilson. I work for Cal OES. I am the caretaker of CHP's low-band network, and I'm here to find out more about some of the upcoming technologies in public safety communication radio.
Here you go. Oh. I'm Patty Peters, and I'm the Cal APCO show administrator.
Good morning. I'm Shalane McMahon. I'm your NAPCO Board of Director. I'm also with Cal OES as a telecom manager.
David Dimmitt, Telecom Manager, Sacramento Regional Radio Communication System.
Jeff Johnson, I'm the manufacturer's rep for Kenwood, E.F. Johnson, Viking, and Pyramid Technologies.
Pam Jones, I'm with Silky Communications, and I'm a radio solutions provider.
I'm Dave Jones with E.F. Johnson, the government solutions engineer.
Okay, I'm Paul Reese. I'm with the City of Roseville IT Radio Division.
Thank you. Linda Biaggi, City of Stockton IT Department.
Hi, Jeff Prey, Federal Engineering. We're a public safety consulting company, everything from radio to technology, CAD records, jail. We're big in NG 911, consolidation, strategic plans.
Hi, I'm Randy Costa. I'm the telecommunications system supervisor for the County of Sacramento.
Gordon Bozeman, Radio Tech, Sacramento County.
Kurt Gary, Sac County Radio.
Yeah, Bob Jacobs, Sheriff's Captain for Nevada County Sheriff's Office. The reason I'm here is I was invited by Motorola to sit in this meeting. Felt it would be a good idea. I'm the project lead for our Sheriff's Office. We're doing a big radio migration. We're getting away from our legacy conventional VHF, and we're going over to the Cal OES CRIS system.
Hey Mike, I know you're loud, but for them on.
Oh. Good morning, Mike Marichini with Motorola, Northern California. I hope everybody's doing well.
Jim Lencioni at the County of Placer and your chapter PIO.
Yes, good morning. This is Larry Smith, City of Stockton, IT manager and one of your board members.
And Mike Beckstrand with Cal OES. I'm a Northern Region Communications Coordinator out of Reading and your president-elect.
Sergeant Bulow, Roseville Police.
Clinton Jean-Baptiste, SSU, Roseville Police Department.
I hate to do this, but you're walking in, and it's perfect timing. You can introduce yourself.
Cassandra McCants Deaver, CHP, Telecommunications Section.
Kenneth Harris, CHP, Telecom, ITS.
Okay, I think we got it. I'm Manny Vieira, your CCAM. I'm also a member of the Commercial Advisory Council, representing Northern California, the premier chapter for National APCO in the country.
It's a heck of a title. And I'm Tristan, City of Roseville IT, and your immediate past president. So we're going to go ahead and move into chapter committee reports. But before we do that, I want to let you all know that registration is now open and available. So if you haven't checked in, registered, all that good stuff, at the networking break after the committee reports, just go back there and we'll get you checked in. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the committee reports. Manny, I'd like to call you up first since you're already standing to give us an update on the conference.
Yeah, before I do that, our monthly meetings, we still have an opening for the month of, I don't know, April. So it's supposed to be in the Bay Area. I think we're still looking for a location, but we still need a sponsor for that. Okay, the show, our California State Conference, which will be held this year, September 30th through October 2nd at the Convention Center in Sacramento. Pre-registration has started. At the end of the show last year, I had pre-registration and 70 vendors signed up. And since then, we've had quite a few more. I want to thank JVC Kenwood and L3 Harris for being my diamond sponsor. So thank you for doing that already. We have many more opportunities. But as of now, I don't know. Jim, can we show the floor plan? If we can't, that's okay. Oh, it's yours? I'm sorry. Oh, okay. All right. So I'll just share this really quick with everybody. This is the floor plan I shared with everybody at the end of the conference last year. It has changed just slightly. As you can see, all the oranges are already taken, and since then there's been a few more. So if you haven't signed up as a commercial, you probably need to do it. We're going to have over 110 vendors this year, and we're hoping that we have around 800 attendees. So, and somebody just walked in. So that's my part.
Well, I'm the last one in. John Aurelius from Public Safety Innovation. We do the mobile command centers and specialty vehicles. And if you like, you can talk to us about DeGiro and the RGB systems.
Good morning, Kathy Conley, Sutter Buttes Communications, two-way radio dealer, sales service, rentals, installations.
Okay, one last thing about the show that I want to, we did open for papers, and if there's a commercial partner of ours that would like to do a training session at the show, we're very open to that. We have slots available that will not conflict with the showroom floor. So you could do it before or after or the day before. So we have over 90 spots for training.
Thank you, Manny. And just to continue on with the call for papers, if you go to our website, calapco.org, and you go over here to the 2025 conference, it'll take you to this page, and immediately if you scroll down, the call for papers is open. So you just click right here. It'll take you to the link, talk you through basically the whole hoopla of the conference. So read through that, submit your call for papers. I am the programs chair, so I'm in charge of training and all that good stuff. So we're looking at doing CPE credits for all of our classes, getting post courses there, quite a few post classes actually. Obviously a ton of good training as far as, wellness, management, technical. I'm still trying to work on maybe getting like technical certification classes, but it's kind of hard with the limited time slots that we do have, trying to get a whole class in there to get people certified. That's a work in progress. So yeah, that's it for me on commercial or the conference as well. I'd like to call up Larry now to give us an update on the awards banquet.
Okay, so we have our annual awards banquet coming up May 8th. Time is coming up quick. Right now we've had 2 people nominated for awards. We're looking for a lot more people. We want you to attend the banquet, but we also need people to be nominated so we can basically show our appreciation for the work they do, recognize them for jobs well done. Reach out beyond our group here, reach out to other communication centers that we want to bring people in. We want them to know that they're appreciated, and just make the banquet a really good event. Again, the event will be May 8th. It's going to be in Lodi at Oak Farms, and look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you, Larry. Appreciate it. Now I'm going to apologize for this next whole section, but you're going to have to listen to me to give quite a few updates because I'm covering for a few people. So deal with it. So we're going to do finance and budget, first of all. And if you do have any follow-up questions, you can try and reach out to me. And if it's something that a committee that I'm a part of, love to answer. If not, I'll point you in the right direction. So for finance and budget, as of January 1st, we had a balance of $135,158.55. And then as of January 31st, we had a budget or a total balance of $93,883. A lot of those costs did come down to C-Vent and paying for the conference and getting, the ball rolling on that whole conference. So as of February 12th, 2025, our balance is $106,290.51. And if you do have any follow-up questions, I can show you the report. Carl is in charge of our finance and budget, so he can also answer any more detailed questions if you have it. Next up, we're going to do member services. We have a ton of new members, which is as to be expected this time of year because in December, everyone's membership kind of lapses, and this is when people are resubscribing, re-registering, re-upping their membership. So as of February 12th, we have a total membership number of 715 members. We do have 24 new members. I'm not going to read out all of their names because we don't have time for that, but they are from the Alameda County Sheriff's Office Emergency Services Dispatch, Elk Grove Police Department, Sacramento County Department of Airports, Sacramento Police Department, Santa Cruz Regional 911, and the Stockton Fire Department. Lots of good members. Love to see that number climbing back up. Like I said, I'm sorry that you have to listen to me so much. Did that. Yes, yes. Okay, and then lastly for me, actually, see, quick and painless, is the legislative side of things. So for those of you that went or heard about it, 911 Goes to Sacramento is an event that we partnered with CPRA and CalNENA to go to the Capitol to talk on legislative matters that pertain to the public safety industry. It's been an amazing event that we could get to attend and be a part of. But this year, CalNENA has decided that they want to go it alone, and we do not have the as big of a name yet to basically get a lobbyist to be on our side to go out there to the Capitol to host our own event. So we will not be participating as NAPCO, but we still have it in our budget to basically do legislative matters. So we are going to be doing sponsorships. So if you want to go to the event, first come, first serve. We're going to send 10 people to the event. So if you are at all interested, contact me. We will pay for your registration to go to the event. I've been the last 4 years, I think, and it's been amazing. You get to go shake hands with senators, assembly members, anyone that will basically have us. There's about 100 people total that will come. It's a 2-day event, and 100 people will be there. On the first day, you learn about how laws are made and basically what goes into passing a bill and all that good stuff. You get prepared on what bills we're going to be speaking on the next day. So it's crucial that you go the very first day so you can learn essentially what you're going to be talking about, get formed into groups, kind of get like your spiel down of like, here's how we're gonna bring up this sad story, and then we're gonna tell them why we need, you know, this law passed or not this one passed or whatever. And then the second day is when you get with your groups, go over to the Capitol or the Swing Building, and you get to sit down and you get to have these conversations with our lawmakers in California. It's an amazing opportunity. I've loved it. I know that our name as NAPCO is starting to get more and more recognized, which is awesome, and so that's why we'd love to send people to get, you know, your agency's names out there, your thoughts and opinions heard. So if you are at all interested, please contact me and we will get you registered and signed up for the event. I think that's all you have to hear from me about. And then last but not least is programs with Mike, if you wouldn't mind giving us an update on that. Oh, yeah. As you can see here in the giant white letters, vendor registration is open.
All right. I just want to echo what Tristan said about 911 Goes to Sacramento. I've gone a couple of times, and it's fascinating how it works and the people that you meet. They're very interesting people. Yes. Yes. So for the folks online, it is a 2-day event. The first day is training. You're in a room like this, and they talk about the laws that you're going to be talking to the legislators about. And then the next day, you're broken up into groups of about, 5 to 8 people. And you get a list of senators and legislators to go and meet in the building. So future meetings. March 13th is the next meeting, and it's going to be in Clovis at the Clovis Police Department and Fire Department headquarters down there in Fresno. So I know it's a long trek, but you know, we try to spread out the wealth amongst the region, and so please invite your friends, vendors, anybody that you know that live down that part of the Central Valley. Let them know, invite them, and we'll see you on the 13th. April 10th is our next meeting, and it's going to be over in the Bay Area, and we're trying to get a couple of places lined up potentially. One place I kind of would like to be at in Cupertino, but I don't know if it's going to happen. So, but anyways. And then May 8th in Lodi at the Oak Farm Vineyard is our awards banquet at 6 p.m. And all the information is on our webpage about that as well. Are we still taking nominations for awards? Yeah. So if you know a team, a group, an individual, that let any member of the board know, and we'll help you out and get that nomination done. Okay, that's it.
Thank you very much, Mike. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick break right now until 10 o'clock. We will start back up. There is coffee and pastries and all that good stuff in the back. Also, please go see Mike or Larry to do registration. See you back at 10 o'clock. Thank you. coffee and find your way back to your seats. I'm going to start calling you out by name unless you start finding your way to your seats. Jeff? And I did want to mention again, too, if you have not checked in, even if you registered online ahead of time, you need to check in at that back desk in order to be put in for the grand prize door drawing at the end of the year. I forgot to mention about the whole grand prize door drawing, but every time you attend a meeting, your name gets put into a wheel. At the end of the year in December, we will spin the wheel and we will raffle off a big old prize. Last year, we gave away an iPad. So if you want a chance of winning an iPad, make sure you are checked in at the desk at the back. And without further ado, I would love to turn it over to the Roseville Police Department Social Services Unit.
How about now? Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. Okay, this is not going to work for me. Okay. Somewhere in between. How about that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not a dispatcher, I'm a cop, so you guys are good at the voice stuff. Thank you for letting us present for the next 6 hours on theories of law. No, just kidding. Yeah, it's a really dry topic. My name's Dave Bulow. I'm a supervisor here at the City of Roseville. I run our social services unit. I've been employed with the City of Roseville for the last 22 years now. I actually started my career down in the Bay Area in the late 90s, so anybody from the peninsula, hello? Yeah. Sarah worked in the county I worked in before.
Oh, perfect, my turn. Good morning, everyone. My name is Clinton Jean-Baptiste. I'm an outreach specialist here at Roseville Police Department. I'm coming up on my 1-year mark soon in this March, so happy for that to happen. I've been in social work for the past several years. I graduated at Cal State San Bernardino, my bachelor's in psych. So, yeah, pretty much a short story about me.
All right. So you're probably wondering why are we here? And we are wondering why are we here. No, just kidding. We actually have a presentation for you guys. So first of all, in order to understand what we're going to get talking about in a minute, I want to tell a little bit about, at least in Roseville, what our team is and what we do and how we try to support our community and particularly our dispatchers. So this is the slide. I hope everybody could see it in the back. I'm not going to just sit here and read slides. I'm just going to tell you what we do. We try to reduce calls for service. That's basically what our mission is. For our team to get involved, usually we're dealing with homeless-related issues or blight-related issues. How many of your communities have blight-related issues, homeless-related issues? No hands are up? Wow, this is amazing. The second thing we deal with is mentally disabled. Now, these could be unsheltered or they could be sheltered. Do any of your communities have problems with mentally disabled people? Again, no hands up. This is amazing. Can I move to where you are? No, just kidding. It's a systemic problem in the state, probably in our nation right now. So a little bit, about 2014, 2015, the city of Roseville decided that the model that we currently had in law enforcement was we needed help, right? Because we have dispatchers and we have police officers that are pretending to be counselors and therapists and pharmacists, and all of you guys in the room know this, right? So we decided back in like 2014, 2015 is why don't we create a team that just that specializes, that has training to deal with these challenges that our community, at least up here in Roseville, is facing. We're kind of fortunate. Our community has some funding, so we were able to build out that model at that point. Initially, it was an officer, and a licensed social worker back in 2015. So it was 2 people. And then the workload has grown since then. The team has grown since then, which is, I'll talk about it in a minute. But basically, it's a multidisciplinary team. The city of Roseville funds it itself. We don't have grant money. We don't borrow from Health and Human Services. We fund a team that basically takes these difficult situations, the nuisance callers, the chronic callers, and we try to divert them from our comm center and our officers and our fire department. In Roseville, we have a police and fire department. Our dispatchers dispatch for both, and the city runs its own police department and fire department. I know some of you work for the state or work for other agencies where you may have like a local police department, but then there's some sort of regional county fire department. We don't do that up in this city. It's all the city of Roseville. There's advantages to that because we partner with our fire. When they have their chronic problem people, they're able to work with our team, and we're able to kind of try and come up with resolutions. All right. So currently on our team, we have 4 police officers. This is Officer Sanchez, that's Officer Horton, Officer Rise, the bottom right, and that's myself down on the left. So basically the officer's role, was really a challenge for law enforcement because when we go through the police academy and when we are going through the field training program, you're taught to kind of be a one-man band, right? I don't know the counties or the cities that you guys all work in, but in the city of Roseville, we roll 1 officer in a car. We don't roll double officers in our car. When you call a fire engine, how many firefighters do you get, usually? Right, 3, maybe 4 if you got a truck. So there's a fundamental difference between fire and police because they're more used to working as a team and dividing workload up on a call. As a police department, we are supposed to handle everything. So when we integrated this team, one of the things that we had to kind of redo was kind of retrain the officers to say, hey, why don't you just stay focused on your role? You don't have to be the mental health expert. You have to be the expert on primarily what the cops do in my team is scene safety. That's usually what they're doing. We're just there to keep Clinton and our other social workers, which he'll talk about here in a minute, we're just there to keep them safe. They're the experts. I'm not the expert. So our job is to get there, whatever the situation is, make sure it's safe, and then this is the hard part with cops. We have to relinquish control and go, hey, Clinton, can you talk to this guy, right? And most cops are like, well, I don't want to do that, right? Well, we're like, well, then you're not working on our team because that's kind of the model, right? So these are all the things that we deal with. We also handle the criminal side for like Clinton and our outreach team because just like we don't know their side as well as they do, they don't know our side as well as we do. So sometimes I know this is probably not going to be a revolutionary thought to anyone in the room, but sometimes our homeless people and our mentally disabled do commit crimes. I know. Sorry, guys. I don't want to like ruin the mood of the room. So sometimes what we do is we offer as that knowledge piece for our outreach side when they're like, is this even a crime? And we'll be like, oh yeah. And then we have a different approach that we will do. So we're basically scene safety, and then we're truly what our role is, which is the enforcement piece, which brings us to our outreach team.
Perfect. So we have a couple of familiar faces on our team, and one that's probably no longer on our team, or not, actually not probably, she is no longer on our team, but I'll break it down. At the top, we have our social services practitioner supervisor, that's a mouthful, CJ Smith. She's a licensed clinical social worker. Bottom left, we had Lainey Renslow. She's the member that's no longer on our team, but she had her master's in social work and she was working towards getting her license. And then we have myself that I just stopped at bachelor's. So this is kind of basically what our team does. I guess I am just going to read directly off the slide. But yeah, I would say out of all these things, the word that we hear the most in law enforcement is de-escalation. So that's pretty much one of the most important things that we do. Any situation or call that we go into, we're dealing with people who might be in a crisis. We're dealing with people who don't like law enforcement a lot of the times and probably don't like social workers. So we're going to hostile environments where we have to go at probably the lowest time of their life, or one of the lowest times of their life when they're escalatory. they're seeing a guy with a gun, they're seeing me. Sometimes I'm vested out too, just like our officers, and they're probably not wanting to talk to us. So what we do is we just try to give them as much time as necessary, de-escalate the situation, hear them out, never say they're wrong, never say what they're thinking is improper, because we sometimes deal with people with schizophrenia who think there's calls that we go on where it's a gentleman or gentlewoman who believes that people are breaking into their house, stealing stuff, they have cameras in the house, none of those cameras are catching any type of footage, and it's like, we're coming in there, and we kind of know what's going on. We can't tell them, hey, this is not happening, so we have to lean into a way where it's like, okay, if this stuff is happening, let's figure it out together. So I would say de-escalation is probably the most important thing. We also have counseling, crisis response. We also, mainly our supervisor, sometimes members of our team as well, we train officers in mental health. We just had a training the other day, I believe, going over a case and kind of how we would deal with it in our team and our perspective versus a officer response, and kind of gave them helpful tips of going into a situation where there's a guy who's paranoid schizophrenic, who's saying there's 3 people that's breaking into his home, he's armed, how will we navigate that? So yeah, I believe that's pretty much a breakdown. We also have an intern too, that's a new addition to our team. She's also currently working towards her master's in social work and wanting to be a licensed clinical social worker. So we have about 4 members of our team coming on. We're gonna have a new practitioner soon too, so yeah, it'll be a total of 4 of us as well.
So one of the things you're probably going like, okay, that's really fascinating. We're not doing like a pitch piece or marketing thing for Roseville Police or SSU unit. We're going to get into what we're here to talk about, which is your 988 system. But you guys in the room, especially those who are on the dispatch side, you're in the same boat that the cops are, right? So I went in the police academy in the late 90s. I had 24 hours of mental health crisis training, right? Then I became a cop, passed FTO, and all of a sudden I'm the guy that they're calling to go handle these really complex cases like Clinton was just talking about, right? I could tell you as a 21-year-old cop working in the Bay Area, like, I had no idea what I was doing. I just know 5150 or not, right? And I feel like a lot of times, especially in our comm center, it's like you hear these calls and these people, you're like, I don't know what to do. I'm gonna send the officer because that's what I'm supposed to do, right? And that puts us all in a difficult position because in order to be licensed, like practitioner Smith up there, you have to have a master's degree, and then you have to go through, at the time when she had to go through 3,000 hours of training. It's like a field training program. And then you have to take a test with the Board of Behavioral Science. And only then are you allowed to, do therapy, counseling, be a licensed social worker. That's a lot of training. And outside of, I know at least one person in this room who's sitting over here may have a master's degree in social work. But outside of that, I don't know how many people in the room or how many of your colleagues you're working have that kind of training. Yet you guys are the ones that are being asked to, when that phone rings, to become the therapist, to become that counselor, and it's not fair to you. It really isn't. It's just the structure that we have. So, we have one more person to introduce.
Shy.
He just doesn't want to come on. I see it on my queue. It wants to come up, but my space is not working. I was assured the space would work. I am not technically proficient, guys. I'm going to fall on the sword on that one. Call in IT. Did you try to restart? Oh, some of you have been there before.
There we go. The star of the show, the star of SSU. Butter, would you like to sit? Sit, Butter. There we go. Star of our show, Butter, our crisis comfort canine. He's done a multitude of trainings. He's done snake detection. He's able to tell you when your blood sugar is low because his primary handler does have is it type 1 diabetes? Yeah. So he's also trained in just basically not trying to bite anybody. So we take him to a lot of our community events. He has an anti-bullying campaign that one of our officers put on where we go to local elementary schools. That's called Butter's Buddies. he works a lot with our DA when we have juveniles who are experiencing like sexual assault cases. He's able to go there and provide them comfort, sit in a stand with them. He does everything. So pretty much what I always tell people in a nutshell, when people say like, what does he do? What's crisis comfort mean? That means that he can get pet by anybody. So a lot of the times when we take him to elementary schools, he's surrounded by 40 kids. They're all pulling his ear, pulling his tail, and he doesn't bother him at all. So yeah, he's really the star of our show.
Basically what we joked with, but when we were onboarding Butter, we said, we need a dog that does nothing that a law enforcement dog does. He doesn't find people, he doesn't find drugs, and he doesn't find bullets or explosives. Like, he does none of that, right? He's terrified of snakes because he's trained. He's got some, as Clinton was talking about, he can detect some diabetes issues. But realistically, he's trained to be pet, right? And what we discovered early on, at least for our model, is dogs seem to help situations in crisis. Like in this picture right here, this lower right, those are two of our dispatchers, and on that day, we had to deal with a really difficult call. A kid had been killed, right? And you guys in the comm center are our first level, our first people that are on scene. So we were asked, hey, can Butter just come down and hang out? So Butter came down and hang out. The top left there with the girl walking Butter, I don't know if any of you guys ever get these calls in the comm center, but how about my daughter's refusing to go to school and she's sitting in the car. Send the cops. Does that sound familiar? Maybe a version of that. So we went out, we took Butter. Long story short is we're like, hey, do you want to walk Butter to class? And she said, yeah. She jumped out of the car, grabbed his leash, and walked him to class, right? So it's just, he just provides different tools than you would normally see because most organizations don't have like a crisis canine, right? All right, so how does all this relate to what we're here to talk about?
What's the flashing green LED on his call?
That's just his shot collar. So we're able, when he doesn't want to listen to commands, we're able to kind of jolt him. Most of the time we don't do it. We give him the warning and
it vibrates first for all you dog lovers. Yeah. He knows when it vibrates, there's business coming, and he follows the rules.
Yeah.
And when he comes in dispatch, we take it off.
Yeah. All right, so is there anybody in the room that's, just raise your hand, are you familiar with the 988 system? A couple people. Anybody here that is like an expert in it? Cool, I can make stuff up, awesome. No, just kidding. Going back several years ago, we were trying to figure out, before 988 got initiated on the state, we were trying to figure out, hey, I think it's a really good idea if we added that crisis component in our comm center. So we were already working with our leadership in our comm center about what that would look like, how can we make this happen, and then the federal government passed this, and then the state initiated it. So in July 16th of 2022, 988 went on board. Just so everybody in the room who isn't familiar with it, 988 is like 911 except for mental illness. And you're like, well, what's that mean? If you dial 988, you do not get a dispatcher, a law enforcement or fire dispatcher. You get ultimately a call taker who's probably somewhere in the state, and then their job is to divert people in mental health crisis from us in this room. That's really what they're supposed to do. And I'll talk a little bit about that here in a minute, but they have licensed social workers, licensed therapists, and licensed counselors that are available. So when the person who's in crisis calls, instead of 911, they call 988. They end up talking to somebody that was not like me, a 21-year-old guy who had 24 hours of training in mental health, right? You're talking to somebody that actually knows what they're talking about. And it's intended to, this is intended to improve and bolster the state's ability to deal with people who are having mental health crisis. Additionally, it helps everyone in this room because in theory it should prevent less calls for service for that. Check with your own agency, because if you want to divert calls from your comm center, maybe you work for a small dispatch county or a city, and you're going to have to work with your own management. But if there is an avenue there for wherever you're working to go, hey, if we get these mental health in crisis, you do your normal triage dispatch at the beginning. You're like, oh, I'm just kind of sad. Like, here, let me forward you to someone. Send them to 988. There's actually a licensed counselor or therapist that will talk to that person. So that's basically what 988 is. It's currently, it's called the California 988 Lifeline. This is their, Butter is not on their webpage, but behind Butter, that is literally their webpage. So they have a webpage. If you guys want to research it, it's on the Cal HHS website. You can hit it here on this button here if you want to like text or chat with them, or you can just call 988 and it will send you through. So this solves all your problems in the comm center, right? No more mental illness calling me, right? We'll talk about that here in a minute. This is straight up out of their website. So I did not write this. This is literally what they will talk about. It says, when callers dial 988, they are accessing suicide and mental health related crisis support through the Lifeline. The 988 Lifeline is an easier to remember number. Everybody get that? Easier to remember number, because 911 is so hard. That connects callers to existing Lifeline services, not you in this room. 911 is focused on addressing public safety concerns and emergency. Examples, dispatching emergency medical services, fire department, and law enforcement. So that's straight off of their website. That's why you should call them, because your number of 911 is too difficult. But let's be honest, if people are in mental health crisis, maybe it's better they're calling these people than your dispatchers, right? Because they have a lot more training experience than you do. For all our people like Paul background that do kind of the equipment side, this is Butter in a boom truck. So that's this truck rises, right? So we were doing some equipment deployment, and the technician we had said, hey, can Butter come up on our boom truck? We're like, I don't know, let's try it. So Butter got to go up and down on the boom truck. All right, great, Dave. We don't have to deal with anything anymore, right? 988, we're just going to send everybody 988 and all of our mental health calls go away. Well, let's talk about the 988 fine print. This is literally off their website. 988 call center counselors are trained to provide person-centered mental health support in the least restrictive manner possible. Translation, we're trying to not send them to the hospital. California is also building its capacity to provide similar support for substance use-related crisis. This is great. Like, we're all going to not have to worry about having a job, right? However, in situations where there is imminent risk to someone's life that is beyond counselor intervention, counselors may share information with 911, oh man, that is necessary to save the caller's life. So there's the thing. If somebody's in crisis, and, well, I'll get to that, I have a slide for that. So you're like, well, Dave, like, are people actually using this? This is off their website. I did not independently verify whether these numbers are accurate, but even me as a simple cop can see that the graph is going up. That means, according to them, people are using this more and more. Overall, it's probably a good thing. I think everybody in the room would agree with, if I had a resource, if I had a crisis worker in my comm center with me, that would make my job so much easier. Well, we can't do that just yet. We're not there yet. But you do have access to this. So this is an indication of 988 seems to be growing in terms of usage. And I would imagine as we continue to go down this road, it's probably going to continue to grow. Especially as you, leaders in your organizations, you may bring some of this stuff back. You can have dialogues internally and talk about, hey, like, should we develop a policy where we could transfer stuff to 988? It's up to you guys, but we're growing, so that should help you in theory, unless you want to talk about the limitations. So I'm not a 988 expert. I don't make myself out to be, but I will tell you, based on the conversations I have, here are their limitations. Number one, difficult to help individuals not interested in self-help. The entire mental health system in the state of California and in the government, in the nation, works on voluntary compliance. You know, think of it in this room, right? You go to the doctor says, hey, can you take this medication for antibiotics, whatever? You can or you can't. Now, you multiply that towards, let's say you're a schizophrenic. Nobody checks on you to see if you're taking your meds or not, right? It's just, you're given meds, you either voluntarily take it or you don't. That's just how it works. That's the current state. So, when they have individuals who are in crisis and they can't help them, they're not interested in self-help, it's going back to you. So you may get a transfer back because of that situation. Number two, they cannot help physically injured people. This is pretty obvious, but you know, at least I know my colleagues here at Roseville PD sometimes will get that call of, I've taken a bunch of pills to kill myself, right? If you call 988 and there's a physical limitation, right? Oh yeah, doctor, I took a bunch of pills, I'm trying to kill myself. Guess who's getting it back? It's coming back to you. And then this is just from what I was told, staffing limitations. They will tell you they're 24 hours a week, 7 days a week. Even on their website, they're kind of give these like hidden innuendos. If we don't answer the call, you'll be transferred to the National Suicide Hotline. And then it's like, oh, we'll just send you back to your local government. So that's how it works. This is Butter when he was a baby on the bottom there. Super cute. All right. So that brings us to, this is Butter as a lion for Halloween. I just feel like I just make the presentation about Butter and different slides. What do you guys think? So I'm just going to translate this. So what we have done to kind of like fill that local, at least for Roseville, that 988 role, to try and take some of the pressure off our officers and our dispatchers is we have developed this model, which is identification, early intervention, and crisis response. It's very, very easy and it's very, very simple. But basically, ultimately, what our goal is to take pressure off our comm center and our officers and say, hey, on these complex issues, send them to us. Because we have a model that we feel will work. And you're going to see some slides here in a minute that we're going to talk about, some success cases. And that involves getting the right people to handle that. So this is like one of the first times we got Butter. Beautiful photo. This is a case example of just as one of many. We've had a lot, but this case is really powerful because maybe some of you who worked and been in these situations, like, yeah, I don't think we would have handled it like that. Mm-hmm. But this is how we handled it here, right?
Yeah.
Why don't you talk a little bit about the identification phase, Clint?
Okay, so this is a client I'm very familiar with because I had to deal with her for about several months. So it started, I'll just give quick background. A lady who, every time she has a talk with either her therapist or doctor, she makes vague suicidal statements and hangs up the phone. So that doctor ends up calling us, and either a patrol officer went out and dealt with it, and she was ultimately either whatever situation they figured out, she was placed in multiple holds from doing this over the span of possibly years. So the holds never really stick because once she gets to wherever she goes to and they realize like, well, whatever, we'll let her go. She's not really suicidal and she's not really following up with her suicide ideation. She's just saying these statements, she's getting placed in holds, she's getting released from the hospital. So the identification starts primarily like that. There's this lady who's constantly, someone's calling into our dispatch and is constantly going where a patrol officer has to respond to that. And eventually, once we realize like, hey, this is not working, it gets to our team and we're able to take over and kind of figure out a game plan of like, hey, this is not working, this patrol response. We need a team of members who kind of have more knowledge with mental health to go out and kind of see how we can figure this out so we can reduce those calls for service.
Yeah, so basically dispatch and our patrol goes, can you guys do something about this, right? So there's our 988 diversion right off the bat, right? Let us know, we're gonna take it up. So we do a quick research of our calls for service related to this individual, and lo and behold, for us, this would be a high volume utilizer of our services. I don't know about your agencies, but for us, this would be a high volume utilizer. This is one individual who's generated 27 calls for service in a 12-month period. Actually, at the time, it was more than that because you'll hear our success with her, but this is basically like an 8-month period that she's generated 27 calls for service. High volume utilizer of our services, your dispatch staff, your fire staff, your police staff, ultimately the hospital staff. So we're like, identification, we get this feedback, we're like, hold on, let's see what's going on with her. We pull this up, we're like, oof, yeah, you're right, absolutely right. We need to do an intervention.
All right, so from that, once it comes notice to our team, like Sergeant Buell said, we do the history, we dig up, we look at the calls for service, and we kind of formulate a game plan from there on how we want to decide to intervene and handle this situation. So right now, we're probably letting our dispatch know, like, hey, any calls that come up under this client, route them to us, because we're gonna take that one voice model, and we're gonna take over, and we're gonna try to figure it out. So let me see if what's up. Okay, so I guess this goes back into how we handle it. So now that we're getting calls, we've made probably, in the span that we get to this little subsection, we've probably made multiple contacts with her. When we went out to her home, we discussed with her what's going on. We're hearing these statements where she's like, yeah, I've been suicidal since I was 6 years old, I don't want to live. But she's also researching like health and fitness. She's lost a lot of weight because she's starting to want to look better and focus on her health, because it's not lining up with, hey, you're saying you're suicidal, but you're making all these movements. You're worried about dental work. You're worried about her credit score was a very important issue for her. She was excited to let us know that she made her credit score raise, and she's having all these focuses on wanting to live, but she's saying that she doesn't want to live. So from all that, we're trying to figure out what can we do to get her either connected to the right people, or what's going on with like her case management plan, what's going on with her social workers. So that's when we end up talking to her social worker, and we get more information on what she's receiving. Like, she's had pretty much the highest level of care that our county can provide to her, but she's choosing not to use it for some odd reason, because every time she talks to a case worker, it goes well for a month and they see this improvement in her behavior, and then something happens where all of a sudden she doesn't want to work with that case worker anymore. And so it falls into this pattern of success, then nothing, success and nothing. And that's pretty much what we're trying to intervene and deal with.
Yeah, so add that to your questions in dispatch, right? You have all the time in the day, right? Can I get your credit score, you know? How's your dental work, right? Like, you guys don't have time for this, right? But this is kind of the involvement that it gets. But she also drops a bomb on us.
Yep, so it ends up coming to a point where, once again, she calls, we get a call from dispatch, it gets routed to us. I believe one of us handled the call, I forget if it's me, but the call goes something on the lines of, hey, next time an officer comes, I'm gonna wave a knife so one of your officers can shoot and kill me. So from that moment on, my partner, Officer Rye, he is trained in threat assessment. He knows, like, hey, we can't go to that house anymore because now it's officer safety issues.
Can I stop you right there?
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question for the dispatchers in the room. Someone calls 911 and goes, I want to kill myself. Oh, and if you send a cop here, I'm going to do suicide by cop and make him kill me. Do you guys just hang up on him, or do you send a cop? No, it's okay. You send a cop. That's what you're trained to do, right? We're telling you, you don't send a cop. Right? No, you do your policy. But for our agency, we have a diversion thing. So she's, instead of that going to you in your comm center, right, where you're like, good luck, Dave. Whoop! Like, hope you make it out of this one. We're able to divert that, right? Because that never even gets to our comm center, because our comm center is not dealing with it. We are that 988 diversion where our staff is. Go ahead.
Okay. So once we hear that, one of our officers put out a prim hazard to let everyone know that we need to involve alternative means of communicating when these calls come out. So instead of going to her house, because she already said what she's going to do and there's officer safety issues, let's start with a phone call. Let's get her out the house. Let's try these alternative means where if these calls come in and an officer has to come in, they won't be put in a predicament where they're unsafe or now they have to basically shoot and kill this lady who said that's what her motive was. So, I guess I kind of went over that. Yeah, so we put out the prim hazard to give that notice to dispatch, so whenever calls for service come in, these are other ways that you can engage with her. That ended up going, and I kind of mentioned the one voice model, so when these calls do come in for her, give them to us. Don't give them to a patrol officer, don't give them to anyone else, just refer them straight to SSU because we're the most familiar with her case and we know her personality by this time from having multiple meetings with her, multiple conversations on the phone, over the phone with her. And
can I interject something?
Yeah.
Just a prem hazard. I don't know what you guys use. Like our technology, our system allows you as a dispatcher when like an address or a person pops up, it will say like warning or like, hey, like girl's gonna like try and kill a cop. Like, so you have the ability as a dispatcher to know like when you're giving us on the other side information, like, hey, if FYI, this person is saying that she wants to get killed by a cop. So you have the alert in the comm center because our technology allows for that, and then you'll pass that along to us. So that's one of the ways in our organization we communicate back. And then the second part is that notification. We'll send out an email as well because probably like most of your organizations, we seem to communicate best by email. So we'll send an email out to everyone saying, this is what's going on with this person. Like basically, do not respond to her. Let us deal with it.
Okay. And from there, we're still trying to help her. We're still trying to offer services. We're still trying to figure out how we can help her get out that situation that she's in. So from doing all that, we end up having a multidisciplinary team meeting. So we had her county case management worker, everyone that's involved with her in the county, we all came together. And that gave us the ability to understand what's been provided to her, why she's denying these things. She had a big issue with thinking that she's getting tossed around and no one actually wanted to hear her out and provide services, but that wasn't that's not what the information that we found in the meeting. We found that she was engaged in the highest level of care. All these people are putting in this much effort to try to help her out, and for some odd reason, she's just not taking it. So the one thing that we ended up getting from that meeting is now when we have conversations with her, we can say, hey, you have this safety plan. Like, you have all these services waiting for you. We are just gonna keep trying to help you get there. And when that doesn't work, it's like, okay, let's try to get family involved. Let's see if there's any support systems that she has that may or may not know about this situation that can give us a better insight. And we're able to contact her sister who had no idea that this was happening. She did know that she had like this suicide ideation as a kid, but she didn't know it went to this level. The sister wanted her to come live with her. The sister's offered that. The sister wants to be that support, but this client didn't want to engage in that. So after having that conversation, letting the sister know, and we would be able to, we basically gave her an idea of what we're able to do, that we're able to provide transportation in the form of reunification. If this client was willing to go, because the sister lived in Hawaii, we would be able to buy a plane ticket so to get her connected to her sister, because she has this support system that's wanting to help her out.
And the sister had no idea any of this was going on. No idea.
Yeah. And so from that conversation, in the background, they finally connected because the sister, I say they haven't talked in a while. They're usually kind of infrequent with phone calls. But that sister ended up reaching out to this client, and we haven't had a call for service since then.
Yeah, so, you know, if you notice that like bottom thing, I underline it just so like, how long did it take us to resolve this? What's that board thing? 2 weeks? Actually, it took us 2 weeks of crisis intervention to resolve it. So you guys, just put in for the overtime. I mean, it's going to be a long, you answer that phone, just plan for the next 2 weeks. You're just going to be talking to this guy, this woman. No. But that's the thing is, when you look at it, the reason it takes 2 weeks is, I don't know other counties, but in this county, Placer County where you guys are at right now, when you're in a mental health crisis, we take you to the hospital. Our local trauma center is actually where we take you, right? Does anybody know what the role of a hospital is in like, let's just say physical injuries? Like, what is their job? Yeah, treat you. Their initial response is to stabilize you, right? So you go with the broken leg, they're like, oh yeah, your leg's messed up, let me fix you, maybe they'll do surgery on you. Then what do they tell you? Yeah, they're like, go follow up with your own doctor, right? This is one of the challenges that when you work with your local hospitals, like we have a relationship with them, where they're like, we've sent her to you 3 times in the last week. Well, we think she's faking. And they discharge her. Now, they'll discharge her with a safety plan or whatever, but if you're physically injured and they're telling you, hey, we stabilize you, now go talk to your own doctor, do you think that the hospital is going to be doing follow-up on our mentally disabled people? Yet, the structure we have, probably in the counties that you work in, is your fire and your officers are taking them to a hospital, and they're triaging them. What is your problem? Oh, I took a bunch of pills. They're going to give them charcoal. They're going to evaluate them. Maybe if they can't stabilize a person, they'll go on what they call a 52-50, so that'll add some more time. But for the most part, their job is to stabilize them. Here, let me connect you with services, which is back to the first. This is all voluntary. So they try and connect them with services, and they roll them back out, and they're back out there. So that was the problem that we were having with this one is the hospital did their due diligence. Their job is not to do the follow-up. Plus, like, how do you fix mentally disabled individuals? And we've all been sad in this room. I come to you like, hey, be happy. You're like, oh, that was it? That's all I had to do is just be happy? Like, it doesn't work like that. But that's how the structure is, which was one of the barriers for this, because the people that we were supposed to take them to help them were like, we're doing our part, and then we're handing them off to our Health and Human Services. Then our Health and Human Services was like, well, they're unwilling to engage. She doesn't want to engage. So I don't know, we'll just sit here. And then our dispatchers are getting the phone calls because she wants to kill herself, and she's escalating, right? You send a cop out here, I'm going to kill him. Uh-oh, better send a cop out there, right? That's your job, right? Oh, you guys deal with it. But because I really think the breakthrough in this case came because we had the time, and we were able to coordinate with the sister. And once we got the sister involved, we were able to build rapport. And then if you look at the last thing, like, we learned through all this process that she had like a doctor's appointment for like physical health issues. I think she had like a dentist. Mm-hmm. And like, she can't get there. Like, hey, let us pay for transportation. Let's get you there. Let's get you. So like, it didn't seem like she wanted to actually kill herself, because like, why are you going to the dentist if you're going to kill yourself, right? So that allowed us to build the rapport with her. And since August of last year, we've had 0 calls for service. And this is just a cute little arrow down slide. 23 calls for service. We get involved. We create 3 calls for service. And then we do, here's the key, follow-up, right? None of you in your comm centers, I'm like, hey, remember that lady I helped like 3 months ago? Let me just proactively call her and see how she's doing, right? You don't have the time for that. It's not your job. For us, we find that follow-up is crucial because of the early intervention. You will find, we as law enforcement and fire will find out when a person's declining before their therapist or the doctor does, because they're going to start acting out, and for you, it's going to be calls for service. You're going to see progressive escalation of calls for service. So for us, we just do follow-up. Hey, how you doing? Everything going well? They go out, they talk to her, everything's going great? Cool. We don't need to do. We'll just, maybe we go, instead of 2 months, we go 3 months the next one. Just depends on how it's going. That's where that early intervention falls into it. This is just another example. I'm not getting too much into the weeds with this one. Judging by the look of this woman's house, does anybody think that she may create some calls for service? Yeah, a few hands raising. Yeah. I will tell you, our community is great. They love the fire. They love the police. They also love well-maintained yards. So if you could imagine this house and being the neighbors to this house, she had an adult son. He was 50 years old, meth user, Guns N' Roses, middle of the night, that kind of thing. Generating, the blue line here is calls for service, right? So as you see, for our department, this was a chronic, difficult situation because we weren't even aware of it, but we have 61, this is a house, we have 61 calls. There's commercial establishments in our city that we don't go to 61 times a year. We go to 61 times in 2021, 69 times in 2022, and by the end of 2022, this team's kind of getting up and rolling, and they're like, can you guys take a look at this house? Because like, there's some funky stuff going on over there. So by 2023, we're getting involved. By 2024, you know, just to put it in perspective, like we would never do this because like we're cops and dispatchers and fire, and we don't do it. But one of our outreach, Lainey, the woman that Clinton talked about earlier, she had a job working in a nursery before she joined government service. So she's like, oh, she grabs like some shears that I had in my car and like some pruning things, and she starts grooming the lady's like front yard, right? She's like just trying to build a rapport. Very difficult woman to connect with. But now we're literally out doing gardening at this woman's house. Now we're not like mowing her lawn and stuff, but it's just like the gesture. Hey, let's fix this for you. Let us trim this up for you. I will tell you, you try any of your agencies that work for cops, go, hey, would you mind going to that house and cutting the guy's bush for a little bit? See the response you get when you enter that call into CAD and you send a cop to go, hey, Mary needs her shrubberies taken down. Can you go over there? Like, I guarantee you what the response back to you is going to be. But because we have time, we understand it's all about rapport building, because the only way this woman's going to get self-help and get out of your ear in that comm center is by us building a rapport with her so she'll actually get self-help. This woman had, besides physical health issues, she was in a wheelchair, she had mental health issues. And unfortunately, it was sad, but she was dependent on her 50-year-old meth-using son for like groceries and stuff like that, just normal stuff. So there was this like toxic relationship where she would call, she wanted to kick out, he was being mean to her. Dispatch gets the call, sends officers, and then we get there, we mediate, we leave, and it's wash, rinse, repeat. So by the time 2024, last year, rolls around, it turned out that we were able to coordinate a bunch of resources, and we got her into an assisted living location where she could be successful and independent, which is why you see there's still some calls for service, but basically they diminished. And then so far through 2025, we haven't had any. Had we not get involved, those blue lines would continue to stay high, and those would have been a workload in the comm center. I will talk about one more partner that we have just in this county. Promise you, I got like 2 slides and we're done, which is MCT.
Yeah. So like Sergeant Bulow said many times in this presentation, getting the right person for the job is key. He's not a mental health trained professional, but thankfully in Roseville we have mobile crisis team, which are all mental health trained professionals. They're all either licensed clinical social workers or some form of that. They're all licensed in mental health. So when we deal with complex cases of someone dealing with a mental health crisis, we're able to call our mobile crisis team and are able to go unseen, safety plan with that individual. They're also capable of putting people on holds if it ever escalates to the point where that's necessary. And they're an amazing resource that we can use when we're dealing with those complex issues.
Now he wants to go play is what he wants. He's like, wait, I want to go play. Yeah, so these are not, this is Health and Human Services. This is a county-run team. There's no law enforcement on them. Literally, our staff will get on scene and they'll go, okay, not just SSU, but our officers, our fire personnel, and go, hey, this person's having a mental health crisis. The key is if the person's cooperative, we will call our mobile crisis team out. That is usually it's a nurse and a licensed social worker. They come out and we just go, here you go. This is, Chuck, he's having a bad day. Do you need anything from me? Cool. And then we peace out. And then they try to, it's another kind of 988 diversion, but it's with like physical people. So our county has that. That was in January of this year, that was mandated by the state. So wherever you're working, whether you're like CHP or Central Valley, I heard you talk about Clovis, your county was required to start a 24-hour crisis intervention team. I don't know what that looks like where you're at, But if you're unfamiliar with it, when you get back home, you may want to start asking some questions. Like, hey, how did we satisfy this mandate? Here, we satisfied it through MCT. And there's Butter watching me make this presentation at my desk. All right, so that's it. Any questions or comments? Anything? Yes.
Recently, Sheriff Cooper in Sacramento gave a talk and said that, you know, his department wasn't going to respond to mental issues anymore. How does that relate to what you're doing, that 988 would do it?
I don't know what Sacramento County is doing. That decision came out of a recent court case where officers in Las Vegas responded to a person in mental health crisis. Reader's Digest version is it didn't go well, and the guy ended up dying in custody. The courts hammered the police department, and that culminated with a ruling that is being interpreted differently. I will tell you, in our county, in our city, we are still rolling to mental health crisis calls. But you would have to ask the good sheriff why he set that direction. But for us, it's an expectation of our community. That case that didn't really change a lot. It was more of a refresher of how you need to engage people in crisis. And so for us, we feel that it's probably more valuable having a law enforcement or fire presence than not having a presence.
Thank you.
Different question.
Okay.
But I was training, then I got a new job, so I don't get to do it, with Sac County chaplaincy. Does Placer County have a chaplaincy? And
yes.
Are you able to work together in unison with, you know, sometimes these things turn out tragic, right? Unfortunately.
So we work with our chaplain department. We also work with our nonprofits and our faith-based organizations as part of our outreach model. So we have a church that, we have a lot of homeless that are living in cars, and sometimes getting their cars fixed is a barrier. So for example, one of the partnerships that our outreach team was able to establish was with the church, and we said, hey, from time to time we come across people that need, you know, they need to get their car fixed or they need to get their car smogged. And then that church has supported us in helping these individuals get their car fixed, and then we'll go on. So yes, we have a chaplaincy program, and we also, in our team, we work pretty closely with our faith-based organizations.
So is this something you do 24/7? I mean, you guys?
Yeah, no. The police department operates our team Monday through Thursday, basically like 7 a.m. to about 6 p.m. And then we try to, on the weekend for like coverage and nights, is we try to counsel like on these cases like I talked about where they're chronic. We do our prem hazards and our notice, and we're like, hey, dispatchers, like, don't send him. Now, obviously, the light in the house on fire or something, like, you're going to have to dispatch. That's what we'll tell them. But we'll say, hey, do not engage them, just route them to us. So we try to use that as a kind of like that one voice model, because they will dispatch shop, they'll officer shop. So we're like, nope. By the time we're telling our dispatch center, like, hey, just send them to us, we have already made contact, and they know the only person they're going to get at Roseville Police Department is Clinton or CJ or something like that. And then they'll call in, and our dispatch say, hey, you know, Chuck called again or whatever. We're like, great, like, we'll call him on Monday. It doesn't. I'm glorifying. Like, I wish it worked that easy. Sometimes our poor dispatchers, like, okay, I got to actually send somebody because they're doing dumb things again on the weekend, and then we just kind of pick it up on Monday. There's a vision to move our team to 7 days a week, but as everybody knows, it just comes down to funding. It's expensive. Sir.
Federal Engineering has two committee members leading the committee on 988 for U.S. and Canada.
Oh, wow.
I see what you're doing is light years ahead of most of the rest of North America. So congratulations. One big issue is people call 988, there's no anti-alley data. So you could be in Florida calling 988 and you get an answer in North Carolina, and you're going to shoot yourself. There's really right now, there's nothing they can do because there's federal standards. You can't have data. Trying to change that, trying to change the whole model.
Awesome.
But it's a struggle. It's an uphill battle, and a lot of places like Sacramento, law enforcement don't want to deal with it. You know, they send somebody out there, they're going to get shot. Somebody's going to get hurt. So there's a lot of pushback all across North America on this. So it's great to see you guys have a really good plan in place.
Right. Wow. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. Sir.
Two questions. One is, do you think that maybe like the advanced de-escalation methods or whatever, by having the other personnel with you, that in some way also increases officer safety or civilian safety, you know, and possibly, you know, whatever costs may be associated with that? And then number two is, man, that was like 2 weeks for that one lady. I could see how that could look very expensive, you know. Perfect world, you know, you would say, hope, oh, we always want best outcomes, but had they tried to do any studies now that you guys have a couple years doing this to say, this was actually more cost effective than those 100 calls over a couple years that would have come in, those man hours, something like that? Just curious.
Yeah, officer safety is, and I'll just speak from the officer side, the guy who's been in law enforcement for 26 years now, is like, we're a traditional organization, and this model is not traditional. So of course we do get the pushback of like trying to get him, wait, we're gonna get a dog that doesn't do any cop stuff? Like, that's a waste of money, you know, and then you got labor issues, and so we feel, and when we are tracking to a metric, one of the metrics we're tracking is like, are we seeing a reduction of our use of forces since this unit basically has gotten going? And we're still working through that data. It looks pretty promising. And if you think about it, it makes sense because as you've seen with these, so many of the people that we engage, you guys engage, are chronic users of the services. Like this lady. Had that lady, you sent somebody out there and a cop got there and she grabs a knife and tried to kill him, I don't know if we would have shot him, but maybe we would have hit her with a taser, maybe we would have done something else. Now we have problems, right? So we feel, at least on our approach, that we're actually seeing a reduction in our use of forces. The data seems to support that. It's a little tricky because you get into like things that are not avoidable in law enforcement that you're forced to deal with. And then we do like yearly reports where we provide data to management. What you just suggested would be amazing, but I don't know what managers do with all those reports about the calls for service and what we're doing. So yeah, that would be a great idea. Awesome. Well, any other questions before we get out of here? We really appreciate the opportunity coming to you guys, and thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Would you like him to be released? Yes. He can be.
The problem is like somebody may be afraid of dogs, and then whether we don't want to like.
Anyone's scared of dogs.
Embarrass him.
Can I give you a cop?
No one?
What's that?
Can I give you a cop joke? No.
Oh. Write it down on paper.
I didn't mean to do that.
See, this is the problem. Can you tell which employee gives him treats?
Alrighty, well, thank you guys very much. I really appreciate it. I mean, I know I work for Roseville, but it's just amazing to hear what else the city's doing. We're going to go ahead and take a quick 10-minute break right now. Go ahead, get some coffee, refreshments, restrooms across the hall. See you at 11:10. My goodness, they're a chatty bunch. Alrighty, everybody, we're going to get started back up right now. So I am going to actually get to turn the floor over to Elise, who's going to talk to us about 911 for kids. Thank you very much.
Okay. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Am I loud enough? No. Can you hear? Okay. Can you turn? Okay. Very good. So anyway, how many people are familiar with 911 for kids? Okay, a handful. What is 911 for kids? It's not just for kids. It is a very critical educational tool that complements what we're doing in the PSAPs, in law enforcement, the fire department, emergency medical response, in schools, and now in libraries. And interestingly is the background, all of you are actually, you and your various organizations have been involved in the creation of 911 for kids. And 911 for kids began as a research exploratory committee started by the old state 911 office under Leah Sennett, under, remember, Department of General Services, way back. And Leah and the team wanted to help to create a public education program that was easy to use, had a long shelf life, was kid tested, teacher approved, and would carry the key elements of how to call 911. And the whole purpose of 911, I think, are two things, and I've been with them since 1990, not by choice, but I kind of moved into it, is first of all, to help reduce misuse. The second way, a second objective is bringing attention to what we do, to the dispatchers, to our service, and to how to use the service correctly. So we have been quite a media machine, and that's something that we're going to discuss, how we all here can access that to enhance our own services, our own PSAPs, and your individual staff and team there, and to bring them recognition. But when this program began, is the founding organizations and groups were APCO, the California State 911 Office, CalNINA, member GTE. Actually, GTE, when they were in their heydays, had a huge television production facility, sound stage, everything out in Thousand Oaks. Or Westlake Village, I'm not sure, but that's where we created all the original 911 for Kids edutainment video with a very renowned puppeteer who's now, if you know anything about the Muppets and all that, is this gentleman used to work with Jim Henson, and when Jim Henson passed away, he became the master puppeteer, and his name is oh my gosh, I'm having a senior moment. I'll remember in a minute. But he created the Aliens and Men in Black, the Snuggle Bear, the McDonald food puppets, and my gosh. Well, anyway, I'll get it in a minute and I'll blurt it out inadvertently. But Nina, Pacific Bell, and of all things, the State of Texas Safety Commission, which if any of you are involved with Nina, Mary Boyd was really huge in being an incredible partner with us in developing 911 for kids. And so I'm going to give you real quick a little background in history so that you understand our incredible background that we've had. So when we started, the first few years was committed to the development and research And we were able, obviously, to get very strong endorsements from APCO, from NENA, from NASNA, the National Association of State 911 Administrators, the NG 911 Institute, which is very governmental based, and pretty much, in fact, I had an FCC appointment. If you're familiar with the CISRIC Council, some of you may have been on that. So the first few years is they had our organization involved to help advise about public education issues as it related to 911 services. In 1995, we brought in Tim Brown, who serves as our global chairman. And this is one of the pictures right here in Sacramento with then Governor George Bush, who was running for president. And we had one of our first big events, which is coming up in April, which is the Tim Brown Mentor Mini Camp for Fatherless Boys. And we have partnered since the beginning with the CHP and also in recent years with, I heard someone talking about the Sacramento County Sheriffs. So Sheriff Cooper is very involved, and we have it at a local campus. But it's a wonderful opportunity for you all to get involved with some of our activities because that's really the only local event besides our state 911 hero ceremony. As we moved on, and you're probably wondering, how did we bring these celebrities in? How did we tie all these different activities? I used to be the assistant athletic director for USC, and I was in charge of media, television production, and promotions. And within that, that gave me my basis in sports and entertainment, and it later led me to develop an organization with Howie Long, who's on the Fox NFL show. He was then with the LA Raiders. We started Athletes and Entertainers for Kids. And it was primarily to recognize my mother, who was very involved in the community, but she was living her last years dealing with breast cancer. And she always said is, you know, everyone can give back. You don't need to have a big checkbook. You don't really need to have any resources. You just need to have a heart to do something. And Athletes and Entertainers for Kids is a nonprofit. It's an educational foundation under our Athletes and Entertainers for Kids umbrella's 911 for Kids, which is our STAR public education program. But how we've survived since 1986 is truly a miracle, but it's because we've had such wonderful, wonderful volunteers and people really committed to serving the community. And now the big focus is the 911 for Kids program. So this has been embraced by so many individuals, and I'm going to introduce you to our media coordinator in the back is Hannah Joy Castillo, and I have brought her in to work with the NFL Players' Wives Association. We're very involved with the Super Bowl through them, and they have totally become aware of the issues with 911. And that's been that common thread and link is we've been able to use our various contacts and resources to continue to introduce 911 to people who don't even, I was at a big birthday party out in Encino, really fancy event, and some lady just fell to the ground, and one of the guests there, they tried to call 911 and the line was busy, so they obviously had too many calls going on, and I explained what was going on, is that more than likely is someone who didn't have a real emergency was tying up the line so we couldn't get through. So I said, just keep trying. But that was just so interesting because here you have this big group of people who are doctors, lawyers, whatever, but they didn't know how 911 worked and the limitations. So right there at that party, I kind of gave them a little quickie overview of how it worked. So that, that was very, very interesting to see how many people do not know how that works. So anyway, some of the photos is Governor Pete Wilson, that top photo, if you all remember him, is we created way back, and I'm trying to think when it was, the California Mentor Initiative, and included featuring 911 for kids. So Colin Powell was involved and a number of other individuals. In fact, we put together a presentation for the President's Summit on America's Promise in Philadelphia, and our leader for California was that motivational speaker, Tony Robbins. So he's kind of scary because he's so big and kind of gets in your face, but he's very effective, and I think it was really, really a wonderful time to again present 911 for kids to the general public. You see Shaquille O'Neal in there. I used to handle his public relations and community outreach. So that was when he first started in the NBA, and then when he moved to California to join the Lakers, we created a program called Shaqtacular. At every one of those events, probably former leaders and representatives from your different agencies attended this event because we did a 911 hero ceremony. And Arnold Schwarzenegger, I think, was campaigning for governor, so even he jumped on the bandwagon. So it's very, we've been able to really broker a lot of phenomenal relationships. So anyway, I don't know if you all know, but in the early 2000s, we worked with the U.S. legislature to create the National 911 Education Month. And there is a bill in Senate or Congress, it's been a while, like almost 20 years ago, so I would have to look back, but I'm looking at my notes here, and that was really a huge, huge effort. And with that is, as you know, there's a number of different agencies who have information and materials. I think the National Department of Transportation actually has a huge 911 public education site that you can download quite a bit of information. But then as we move on is with when Cal OES brought in Director Mark Ghirlandaci, who you'll see in that top picture with Franco Harris, God bless his soul, you football fans, Franco Harris, immaculate reception, remember? That's one of the greatest plays in the NFL. Anyway, he chose our organization to be the official charity for Super Bowl 2022. Is that correct, Hannah Joy? I can't remember. I think so, 2022. And so we did Heroes Awards there at his big event, and brought incredible awareness again to dispatchers, to 911 centers, directors and staff. We always try to bring as many people as they allow us to these events, so they get to be our ambassadors to speak with the general public, with the different athletes, with agents, with the media, so it's quite wonderful. Following, unfortunately, the COVID pandemic hit, everything shut down, and we really had to shut down our offices because we have a lot of medical advisors on our board. So anyway, during that time also, and I don't mean to get too personal, but it's been a little bit of a journey for me, but my husband was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. and we got him through 2 years, and then unfortunately he passed in 2023. So I'm pretty new in getting back into the saddle again, and really dedicating myself to, to restarting my involvement with 911 public education. So, but with that, we had everything, all of our programs and services went online. We had a lot of YouTube programming. You'll see Reddy Fox there is in the middle picture. He is with Chief Darrell Osby, who is the retired fire chief for LA County Fire Department. We have, and I'll go through this, but you'll see Snoopy, one of our global chair people, Kathy Ireland, and a number of our public safety hero characters that join us. And in that bottom right corner for you is, that's from the NFL Players' Wives Super Bowl fashion show. And Hannah Joy back there, who's our media specialist, she ran they call it pink carpet, and managed the media. And she will be very front and center when we have our California statewide legislative hero ceremony in April. So I invite all of you to get busy, and you can either nominate 911 heroes, if the dispatcher, the person that called in, and maybe not that crazy lady though, that called in. And then a new category is outstanding public educators. So if you have someone that's been going out into the community that's going gangbusters, you should nominate them. And we have 2 nomination forms, and obviously I know this is really old school, but it's online also. But I have these in the back, and there's some other things that I invite you to take. But I was going to tell you real quick is we do education, okay? We're not even listed. I don't even know how they get our number. But we've had crazy calls where parents saying is, you need to take my kid away, they're not minding. I said, we do public education. I didn't want to say it's called, I said, you need to call maybe Children's Services. Do not call 911 unless you have a real immediate emergency where you need the police, the fire, or medical response. So, but I protected you guys, just so you know. But we get these crazy calls. It's really, really amazing. And then the last part of the history background is I want you all to know we have an amazing team right now. One of our board members, who's a former NBC sports producer, and has done a lot of Olympics, but he started the Raiders television network, Mr. William Zager. He has taken over our website and all the revision of, I think, who was it, of our video, and everything's going to be digital to download. But we'll still have old school, so if people need copies, we can go ahead and do that. But that's all new, and I feel that we're going to have that done in 30 to 40 days because they are going to town with the new website, the online store, and everything else. We are already working on the NENA National Conference in Long Beach. We're down in the Orange County area, so we are going to be bringing in the Fox 11 news anchor, Christine Devine. Hopefully, if everyone's schedule works out, so far it has, is Tim Brown and Kathy Ireland will also be there. So if you're going to be down there, you have some heroes to nominate, is get them ready. The other thing that's coming up is we will have hero ceremonies at the 2026 Super Bowl, which is 60, in San Francisco, and also 2027 Super Bowl 61, which will be in Los Angeles. Interestingly, is this picture here is from when we had it down in, was it San Antonio, Texas? And we recognize children and families from the Uvalde school shooting. And as you can see, we had like not just local media, but we had national media. ABC News came out. And you know, the sad thing is, you know, unfortunately, incidents like that, even though it was a year after, they still draw amazing attention and give us amazing visibility. So you have different events that happen and incidents. You need to work, well, you don't need to, but we're here to work with you in creating as much visibility, and it's for awareness to educate the public, okay? And to bring, you know, to bring some attention to your PSAP and your dispatchers, because I think that that is just such a huge, huge thing. Is you guys are all under so much stress, is morale boosting and just general camaraderie in building your team. So these are some of the pictures of other 911 hero ceremonies. Up there you see Tim Brown and Congressperson Norma Torres. I think in the this one here, that looks like Leah Sennett, and then that is the head of California Department of Education. This one was done at the big Southern California CHP Comm Center, and CHP has always been very, very, very involved. It kind of helps because, you know, they're statewide. So anyway, what about the outreach materials that we have? Well, in the beginning, what the state 911 office did is they created a reimbursement program. So you all, as long as it matches up with your numbers of in your community and schools, is you can order product for your area and your community, and the product is both reimbursed along with all shipping and handling, okay? And we're more than happy if you struggle at all with it, and we're trying to make that online store as easy as possible, but that's what it's going through a big revamping right now. But when we first started with this is we were working with the California Seismic Safety Commission, and they were saying, you know, the thing that people don't realize is 911, you know, is the first emergency, you know, summons that goes out when there's any major natural or man-made catastrophe. And it is so critical in any and all emergencies, and that's why it was so highly endorsed by Mark Ghirlandaducci, by all these other state offices, as well as national and federal groups. So it is very important to incorporate some type of 911 public education, because as you know, in the state of California, and help me, Cal OES, what do we have? We have over 38 million people, right, in the state so far, and growing. That's what we have that we know of. And then with that is how many calls do we have? It's like an enormous millions of calls. Over half of those, as you know, are not emergencies. And how are we going to reduce that misuse? And it's through public education. The most successful public education programs, according to the National Ad Council, start in schools, start with young children, and it's the most economical way. Think of, well, if you guys can remember back to that far, do you remember the Just Say No program? Okay, that was one of the most successful campaigns. And because it started with young children in the schools. I think recycling, you know, there's been incredible effort in that area, again, is starting with young kids. Now, we do have educational materials for adults and the college age and young adults, but our focus, and especially it's substantiated after listening to those other gentlemen, is we have a whole line of senior products because we want to get that out to the senior centers, okay? So that they become aware of, you know, the issues involved there. But here are some of the, the products. We have that great Tony Urbano. That is the puppeteer, that's his name. I looked at the Reddy Fox and I just remembered. Tony Urbano was the one who created all the puppets, the storyline. Gary Powell, who is a Grammy Award-winning songwriter, he did the music because you have to have music when you're doing kids entertainment. And he did the score for, I believe, Little Mermaid and Aladdin and a number of other Disney movies, feature films. But we do have two different videos. We have one which is like our Mickey Mouse classic, that's Reddy Fox. And that teaches the very basic and also keeps children aware of the old kind of phones. And then we have an addendum to talk about cell phones and smartphones. But that's how long ago this was done. But still, those phones exist, and we can't just, not address it because someone's going to run into it, and they need to know what it is and how it works. And then we brought in Abby and Gabby, and they're going over a huge facelift right now into a digital look. And they are the cell phone sisters, and they do a whole expanded edutainment, 10-minute edutainment video on how to use 911 on using cell phone. Now, in the back, I brought for each of you a packet of different samples so that you can look at them. There's also a completion certificate. I am the main graphic artist, okay? That's one of my volunteer duties. And I brought in friends from different studios to help me. So we have great materials. Nothing's on newsprint. Everything is something that they and you will actually want to keep and review over and over again. So there's one of the things that is really great tool to use, and they can look at it, and actually many of the adults like it too, is we have this emergency safety card, and it's kind of a quiz. It's a little bit small print, so you may have to put your glasses on. But it has different scenarios of when and when not to call 911. And then in the back, it has the balloon blow-ups of the conversation that you're supposed to have with the dispatcher. But anything else that you can, we usually work with Charlie Cullen, who's the retired president of NENA, and he's been on our board forever. We usually have him and that group look at it, but you guys are all part of the founding, members of 911 for Kids and its creation. I would love to hear it. You tell me it'd be great if you could add this in there, or if you can include this message point or that message point. Now, we can only do so much because we have a very small, amount of real estate that we can actually do this. So you should think of the most compelling message points that you want us to consider for your communities, because it's really helps us instead of always talking to NENA or FCC or whoever. I would like to stay, as local as possible. But with these packets, you'll get a chance to look at all of our different products. So here he is. He's our Mickey Mouse. Everyone loves him, especially, I'm telling you, in the other 50 states, people are so into this Reddy Fox. And I believe in the past, and even in modern times, if you have a couple counties going together, the state office will go ahead and approve of a costume. That's probably the biggest ticket item, but we certainly, you know, keep all the prices down being a nonprofit. And we have a great manufacturer that does this. So I don't think it's like getting a Disney suit or something like that, but it's still, I think it's around $4,000 to get a costume, which is actually very reasonable. So anyway, the 911 Hero Ceremony. This is one of the most important services that we have that you should take advantage of, okay? Nicole Palungas is the 911 Heroes Awards coordinator. Our upcoming state ceremony on the west steps of the Capitol is scheduled for Thursday. Ooh, that's supposed to be April 24th, okay? The 25th is our Tim Brown Mentor Mini Camp with CHP and the sheriffs. But it's a wonderful event. It's incredibly attended. Usually, unless there's a problem, is the heroes are presented in the Assembly chambers and also in the Senate chambers. So it's a really special time for those that we want to recognize, okay? And Hannah Joy is wonderful about getting the media out. She usually has Tim Brown going to all the morning shows talking about the event, and then on site, what is that Good Morning Sacramento? Good Day Sacramento. They come out and they do quite a extensive feature. So it would be wonderful to have your heroes recognized, and these are the chambers here that they would be in. Don't forget, April is National 911 Education Month. It's also the National Dispatcher Appreciation or Telecommunicator Appreciation Week. So I think it'd be really, really wonderful. You guys start planning now, get your materials together, and let's get out into the community. Here are some of the events that you may want to think about in featuring your public 911 public education is tag team with a shakeout, with National Crime Prevention, Fire Prevention, National Night Out, your local county fair, Red Ribbon Rally. There's so many different events, and you know, you can create your own safety event and fair. And hopefully you do it more than just once a year. And we are here to help you. There he is, there's my co-founder. So these are quickly some of the different community programs that we have. The first one is the Tim Brown Mentor Mini Camp. That one is going to be on April 25th, okay? That's the day after the state ceremony. We'd love to have all of you attend. We need guys as mentor dads. Gals, we run everything naturally to make sure it works. And it's, last year we had it at Sac State, and I think that's where it's coming back. I need to ask that committee. Those people that are with the Sacramento County Sheriffs, you have a huge committee running that event with us. So, you know, Hannah Joy, who's the lead from Sac County Sheriffs? Do you remember? If you can look it up, because I know in this second row from the back, I think that's Sac County people. We have a program with Kathy for single mothers, challenged mothers, and it's to teach them safety and how to move forward and not stay on welfare, okay? Helping them to get into training, helping them to get their house and their transportation safe for babies. And interestingly, the CHP down in Southern Division, they gather, I don't know how they do it, but they find us over 100 brand new car seats for the infants. And then we have a number of apparel and clothing companies that put together clothing and shoes and whatever for the for the gals and also for the babies. In fact, interestingly, one of the companies is Jessica Simpson. So she has been working with us through Shacktacular, and she has been incredibly generous. The other event, and you'll see, who is the county 911 county coordinator for Sacramento area? Is that, are they here? Okay, well anyway, this gal right here, Ella Sotella, has been involved as a county coordinator for decades. She headed up LA County, and they have over 81 911 centers down there. But this is a great event. It's for children without parents, impoverished children, and that could be children of prisoners, children who are in group homes for whatever reason that they do not have a normal family situation. And so we have 350 of these kids. We've been doing it since 1986. So it's been a long time, and it's an incredible event that Kathy hosts. We've had numerous sports teams and other sports celebrities that have come out to support that event. If you're down in Southern California, this year it's going to be December 13th in Long Beach, and we will have that information up with the new website. Now, I brought these because we used to have, but I mean, I did it 25 years, so I'm a little bit fried. So, but they're trying to get me to start it up again. Our Tim Brown Celebrity Golf Classic, featuring, actually it was the Tim Brown 911 Celebrity Golf Classic, and AT&T was the main sponsor. But I brought these because this has not only information about our spokespeople and all the various events, but here's a feature on the 50th anniversary of 911, and then all of our capabilities information. So we use this as a brochure booklet for 911 information. So we kind of double up here. So I have some of these in the back. If you want to go ahead and look at those. If you have questions or need help, Nicole Palungas, she heads up the 911 Heroes Awards program. So I recommend that you talk to her. But she started as an intern way back, in the 90s. And she is now the marketing director of the Del Olmo Mall, but she continues to help us. And that's the way it is with the majority of people. Same thing with me. I've been the volunteer executive director since 2009. And, I've been with this organization since the beginning. But we're here to work together as a team. We're not some big fancy organization, but we like to do things correctly. I had to run a big PR department at USC and for other companies, and everything we do, there's always a script. It's always very well organized. It's staged with great branding and signage, and all of our awards, if you've ever seen any of our awards, are all top of the line. And we want to make sure that all of you feel special, that this is an important thing to recognize PSAPs, dispatchers, and everything that we all are doing here, because we are the heartbeat for public safety response. And, I know there's a lot of focus on law enforcement and fire, emergency medical response. But we know that everything starts right here with all of us. So that's something that's really important. I was on, is Good Morning America ABC? Is that, okay. So I was on the Good Morning America one time because there was this home invasion in Los Angeles. And it's Robin Roberts, is that Is that her? Okay. So she interviewed me, and it was, you know, and I'd be more than happy. In fact, on our website, I think there's that video there of that. But it's just amazing how many people just are clueless about how 911 works. And the more we get out, and, you know, all of you perhaps someday will be a spokesperson talking to the media. You need to be ready, have your message points concise. And if anyone, I don't know with your PIOs if you do media training, but that was one of the things I used to do at USC for the different athletes. And I would be more than happy to work with any of you that are going to be going out or want to be going out to be speakers and representatives and ambassadors, because we can't have too many. So Stephanie Abril is my first lieutenant. She's at the office, and she is there to help you with orders. She oversees the fulfillment and all the things that go on there in the office, and the packing and getting all this done. So again, remember, we're all volunteers, okay? Organization at 911 for Kids. So I apologize if you run into any delays, but I'm very, very committed to getting things out as quickly. Sometimes we drive things out, or the 911 center comes over to the office to pick things up because they need it. We can ship things quickly up here. Hannah Joy and my administrator up here is Catherine Brandenburg. She's the president of the California Lobbyists Association. She's right across from the state capitol, incredible person, and she's behind the scenes, and she will move quickly to help us with anything that we need. And she's front and center with our Sacramento events. So that's it. Does anyone have any questions at all? I know you all want to eat. You've been sitting too long. So, but pick up a packet, pick up a program book, and then the Public Educator and the 911 Heroes application. And when you open it up, you have the actual old school application, okay? Eventually, by the end of this month, this will be online. But if you have Heroes now, just take the time and fill it out, okay? So thank you so much for your time and listening to me. So thank you. I thank you for your service and everything that you do.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your presentation. I love learning about that, especially now that I have a 3-year-old. I'm like, oh man, that's right. If something happens, I have to make sure she can call 911. That's a fun conversation to try and train her on. So anyways, we do have Dos Coyotes here for lunch at the little back table right there. We have some pre-made tacos you can grab, or burritos, or there's also a full-on taco bar that you can grab, make your own tacos. We do have our operations and frequency coordination starting at 1 o'clock. And that will be it. So thank you all very much for attending. I appreciate you all coming out in this crazy weather, but you all made it. So thank you very much. Enjoy lunch.